Hello and welcome to our WWE No Mercy 2017 review. I am joined by Emir from our Wrestling Talk podcast.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you guys thought that was an exciting pay-per-view. I'm ready to discuss it, man. Let's get into it.
Okay, well, Emir was actually at the show, so the first thing I want to discuss before we break it down match by match and talk about who got predictions right and all that good stuff was what was it like live? Like, what was the atmosphere like? Was the crowd alive? Because at certain points, I believe I even tweeted you at one point and said the crowd seems dead, and you tweeted back saying no, they're alright, but I was comparing it to other points in the card. So, I was saying this is relatively quiet compared with, earlier. So, what was it like? What was the atmosphere like? Was everyone into it?
I think that the atmosphere, I mean, even from the time that I was waiting outside for the arena doors to open, the crowd was excited. There was a really good energy. There was really good buzz in the crowd. And as soon as the doors came open, everybody started hitting the Ric Flair woos and all that kind of stuff. And the crowd, I mean, they just start chanting things immediately. They don't even wait for the show to start. Now there were some matches, and we'll get into which ones where the crowd just wasn't into it at all. But I think for the most part, it was pretty good energy, and I thought that was kind of cool.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that, because I've never really understood the point of going to a WWE show and sitting on your hands, as it were. You're there, you might as well get involved and have a good time. I've never quite understood people who sort of take a vow of silence during an event they've paid to go and see. So that's good. At least the crowd was decent for the majority. Right. So anyway, were you in by the time the kickoff match happened?
Yeah. I was already in my seat.
Lovely. Okay, so we had a pretty much unbuilt up, announced on the internet match between Elias and Apollo Crews. I'm just going to go out there and say I love both these guys. I love Apollo Crews. I saw Apollo Crews in England wrestle when he was Uhaa Nation before he signed for WWE, and he was a really nice guy. He's obviously a fantastic athlete. Elias is just, to me, he's just like some... I think I tweeted out saying Elias is better than the Rock concerts. Like, he's just such an old school heel. He just insults the city he's in. He doesn't make any bones about it. He does it with a smirk on his face because he knows it's cheesy and corny in this day and age, but he still does it. And I think he's getting over, and I really like both guys. I think Elias picked up the win, didn't he? A clean win, I believe it was. I don't think he cheated, did he?
No, yeah.
And so I mean, if we'd have done predictions for this, if this match had been pre-announced, I'd have been tempted to go with Elias because he's been included in the Intercontinental title scene and stuff like that recently. So he's getting sort of like a bit of a micro push. It's not like a a mega shoot to the moon kind of push, but he's getting a bit of a push. The post-match attack was the least aggressive post-match attack I've ever seen in my life. He looked like he was sort of trying to lean away from Apollo and sort of tap him with his foot instead of actually laying in the boots. It looked like he was trying to run away from Titus before Titus was ready to chase him, if you know what I mean. And I just thought that looked a bit lame. But overall, the match was what it was. It was okay, it was decent.
Yeah, I enjoyed the match too, and I have no problem with the outcome. When I look at Elias, I became a fan of him. I didn't see too much of him in NXT, but I did become a fan of him when he wrestled a couple series of matches against Finn Balor when he first arrived on Raw. And I don't know, he kind of looks like maybe like if Finn Balor got spliced together with Roman Reigns. That's what I think of when I see Elias. It's like a weird face, but his wrestling ability, he's good, man. He's solid. And then of course Apollo Crews, he put on a great match last night. So yeah, it was really enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, I think Elias has been handled pretty well for someone they don't have championship goals for, but they're not just letting him drift away, for want of a better term. They're not just letting him lose out and get lost in the shuffle. He's still staying relevant without getting a mega push. So it just proves sometimes they do know what they're doing, and sometimes they don't. But in this instance, I feel like they're handling Elias reasonably well, considering they clearly don't want to give him a title or a major push just yet. But they're keeping him relevant. They're keeping him picking up wins. He picks up the occasional loss, but he's doing all right. He's doing all right. Anyway, we only really did predictions for the main show, so we won't spend too long on that. So the first match of the main show kicked off with The Miz defending the Intercontinental Championship against Jason Jordan. And I predicted a Jordan win. You predicted a Miz win. The game predicted a Miz win. You guys won. I get it. I didn't do great on this show, if I'm honest, predictions-wise. But I think the fact that it was an unclean win, he was distracted by the Miztourage. He was hit by Curtis Axel just before the skull-crushing finale. They're obviously keeping Jason Jordan looking reasonably strong, if inexperienced. I think that is the story of this event, which is what we discussed, was the potential for the Miztourage to play on Jason Jordan's lack of experience and potentially, outsmart him a little bit. So what did you think of the match?
I thought the match was fantastic, even though I predicted The Miz to win. And then I sort of allowed myself to begin to be swayed by the internet rumors of The Miz taking time off to be with his pregnant wife, Maurice. Because during the match, Jason Jordan is such a damn good wrestler. You just start thinking, maybe he's going to do it, maybe he's going to win. And then he loses, and it's like, it's kind of frustrating to watch a guy who wrestles so good continue to lose matches. But I get it. But here's what I don't get. Once he's lost, if you're gonna do some sort of like ringside interview with Jason Jordan, can we make sure he has something relevant to say? Like, you're just making him look like an asshole. It's crazy.
It's not even something relevant to say. It's just something to say. I actually wrote down cringy promo post-match. Like, I just thought, like, the thing I thought they were going to do with that was show some real signs of, like, frustration and aggression. And he just basically, I don't know, I can't remember what he called the Miz word for word, but he basically just called him a loser. And, I don't respect him. And it's like, well, Miz doesn't care. He's got the IC title. He's a heel. He doesn't care. And it was, it was just one of those where, I don't know, instead of a post-match interview, I'd rather have seen Jason Jordan go and grip at least one member of the Miztourage and just absolutely demolish them in the ring. Just throw them around for a couple of minutes, like suplex, and then, and then finish it by throwing him out on the other two or something. Bo Dallas or Curtis Axel could have taken that beating. It would have been fun. I think it would have been more effective as well. I think there was signs, I thought, of Jason Jordan sort of showing that potential slow turn, and I think this is one of a couple of instances where all the smart fans on the internet, quote unquote smart fans, are kind of being played by WWE exactly. They're doing exactly what they want them to do by turning on Jason Jordan. I think it's a slow burn kind of situation where we're supposed to think that Jason Jordan's getting too much too soon. People are complaining, it's too much too soon. Why is he getting an IC title shot? That's the story. That's the story. You're falling for it, hook, line, and sinker. That's the story as far as I'm concerned. And I feel like they're really roping in the smart fan base, as it were, on the internet just as much as the casual fans. It's pretty funny to watch, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree, man. And here's the thing. When Jason Jordan finally does have his breakout moment and he learns to talk on the mic and he starts showing some aggression, I think a lot of people will start to come around, and jump on that bandwagon. But I decided, as soon as he came to Raw, I mean, don't get me wrong, I was a fan of American Alpha, but when Jason Jordan started wrestling singles on Raw, and I really got to see what he could do, I immediately became a Jason Jordan fan, and I'm not going to wait till his promos improve or anything like that. I'm going to be one of those guys that was like, yeah, I was with Jason Jordan from the beginning. You know what I mean?
Hipster Jason Jordan fan. Yeah, I mean, the thing that bothers me as well is people say, I mean, yeah, his promo skills do need some work, but, like Asuka, Shinsuke Nakamura, the Great Khali was world champion, couldn't speak English at all, hardly. You don't need promo skills to become a big star. Kane didn't speak for years. And he won the world title in that time, and he was definitely treated as a serious big star. You don't need promo skills to be a big star. Just because guys like The Rock and Austin were strong, very strong promo guys, everyone seems to think everyone has to be now, and you don't. You don't have to be a mega promo guy to get over and to be successful in WWE. It helps. I'm not saying it doesn't help, but history has proven there are probably countless examples, if I actually tried to go back through and list people that had a good career without being good on the mic. There's loads. So I don't see why everyone says it like it's the be-all and end-all, because it's just really not.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's such a different age now, too, where the social media aspect where fans they get so much story and so much. They can express their opinions and stuff. It's like, I mean, who knows what people were feeling before, but the bar has been raised, and I think there's way more expectation on current WWE superstars than there were of the stars back in the day.
Yeah, which is good because then you hopefully get more out of them. But you can't just see any sign of weakness as, you know, oh, this guy doesn't deserve anything. Then I just don't agree with that. Anyway, I was wrong. I was okay with being wrong though. If Miz would have just beaten Jason Jordan outright, I'd have been like, I don't understand what all the point of all that month of build up was. With Jason Jordan getting the big matches and stuff. But because he beat him unclean, it advances the story because it gives Angle an excuse to give him a rematch. He expressly said, I want a rematch. So, it gives Angle an excuse to just give him a rematch and be able to stand behind that excuse rather than, well, he's my son, I'm giving him a rematch. So it keeps that slow burn story of, is Jason Jordan getting too much opportunity going? It's good. Okay, on to the next match. We had Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt, which was obviously the match you were looking forward to the most. It was billed as man versus man, and guess what? A man won. It was shocking stuff. This match was never in any doubt. Me, you, and the game all predicted the winner. I ran a Twitter poll, and like half of the people that voted were like Bray Wyatt, and I was like, "What product have you been watching?" I was like, I was so confused, but whatever. It was never in doubt. There was the pre-match assault by Bray Wyatt. That almost made it more certain that Finn was going to win. To me, there was no intrigue from the oh my god, who's going to win perspective for me. It was like anytime it looked like Bray was going to win, I was just like, nah, he's not going to. I don't know what you felt. I don't know. I imagine the crowd was quite into it because both of these guys are over. So despite the lame story going into it, I imagine people were into it just because Finn's cool, Bray's cool, this match is cool.
Yeah, and I think they were smart to book the angle of the pre-match attack, and Finn, he sold it so well right into the match started. You really thought maybe he's injured. I mean, his face he's able to make a good pain face, and I thought that was awesome. I was not looking forward to this match at all, but I gotta say, once the match started, I was pretty entertained by it. I didn't have a problem with it at that point, even though there was the storyline is so stupid. But yeah, just based on the wrestling, they put on a good match in my opinion.
The only downside was the result not being in doubt. It took away from the drama a little bit, but it was still a good match, like you say. I think that's all we have to say about it. It was a good match. What else did you expect? They're two good wrestlers. I like them both. Up next was the Raw Tag Team title match, which was Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose defending against Sheamus and Cesaro. Man, this match was stiff. Cesaro lost. Well, that wasn't a stiff moment, actually. That was just Cesaro messing up. He managed to headbutt a ring post legit and knock his teeth out. But there was a lot of stuff going on where I was like, this match is stiff. Either these guys really like each other and know they can give each other a bit of a dig, or there's a little bit of heat. It's one way or the other, because they were laying in some of the shots.
Yeah, they were, and Cesaro and Sheamus, they do tend to work stiff, but not Sheamus so much, but Cesaro can also be really fluid, and he's so graceful in the ring. So I was surprised that he knocked half his face off. That was crazy.
It's a very uncharacteristic mistake for someone like Cesaro to make.
Yeah, it did. That part was weird. Also, the crowd, I'm telling you, man, everybody just seemed really upset that Seth Rollins spent 95% of the match lying on the floor.
Yeah, but it was the story of the match. I get it. It was the whole point of the match was Sheamus and Cesaro saying we're a better team than these two, so they had to exhibit that isolation of one man to a greater extent than you normally get in a tag match. I get why they did it. I understand that people. I mean, I just wrote down I can't stand Dean Ambrose at the moment. I actually wrote that down as good match. Can't stand Dean because he just seemed to be sort of running at people, throwing the weakest looking punches ever, landing about one or two of them just about, and then getting up and sort of shouting and then running at the other one, and it was like, do you do any wrestling anymore, Dean? Do you do anything decent? Because I don't know, everything Dean Ambrose did just annoyed me in this match. He has done for a year now. I've not enjoyed his stuff for over a year since he won the WWE title. You know, I just thought Stone Cold was bob on. We've discussed this. He seems to have got lazy and lethargic, but he just doesn't even seem to be doing anything anymore. I don't know what it is. He just throws himself at people. It's not entertaining for me.
Yeah, I agree. Dean Ambrose is on cruise control. He's not trying to be innovative. He's not putting a lot of effort into the matches, but at this point, he's just kind of riding the wave of this, mini Shield reunion. And I think he's figured out, based on the crowd reaction, that, you know what, I don't really have to do a whole lot. I'm going to make this money. I'm not going to go home hurting every night, because even when I put in a little bit of effort, the crowd still pops. And I've seen, all their matches, right? And I just thought this match wasn't as good as the other ones, but I did like the way that the finish was booked. So that I just felt like at least the finish was pretty good.
Yeah, I liked the false finish, the exact replica of SummerSlam. I mean, obviously Seth didn't land it as smoothly as he did at SummerSlam, but it's a difficult move to hit smoothly, it's just one of those things. But Cesaro showing off his strength, which is, I was going to say when he's at his best, but Cesaro's just at his best when he's in a wrestling ring. It doesn't matter whether he's showing off his strength or his athleticism. Honestly, it bothers me that 3 of the men in this match are Money in the Bank winners, 3 of the men in this match are former world champions, and the only one that's not is Cesaro. It gets me that, because for me, and I know Seth Rollins is great, but I would say Cesaro is the best wrestler that is in that match, and he's the only one who hasn't won the title. I can rant for years about the mistreatment of Cesaro. I hate it. It's probably my biggest bugbear about WWE is that Cesaro's never had a main event push.
Yeah, I agree, man. They're definitely dropping the ball when it comes to Cesaro. And also, this whole Shield reunion thing, it's so painstakingly apparent that these two have been pushed back together because they have nothing else for them. It's just like, this is, I don't know, man. I would, if they came out tomorrow night on Raw and broke up and went their separate ways, I think that maybe Seth would be better served, because right now Dean Ambrose is just riding the gravy train and it's not helping out anybody's career.
True. I was sort of hoping for but not expecting the turn last night. I wasn't expecting it to happen, but I wouldn't have minded it at all. You predicted the Shield, or the Shia, as we call them on this channel. The game predicted the Shia, and I predicted Sheamus and Cesaro, but that didn't happen. So once again, I got it wrong. I had a bad night last night for predictions, but hey ho, I don't really mind. Sometimes you don't mind being wrong. Like, I'm trying to think. Like, I didn't mind being wrong in the Miz Jason Jordan match, but sometimes you regret being right, and we'll cover that later in the show. Later in the show. Anyway, the next match was the Raw Women's Championship, the 5-way. In the predictions, I don't know if you remember, I actually said all this time I was going to say Alexa, and then I just switched. I took a left and went, no, actually, let's go Sasha. And I should have stuck to my guns, because Alexa won. In my opinion, it was the right decision, because it feels like Asuka's almost guaranteed to win the title either at TLC or the night after, or very, very shortly. And it just seems pointless to me to give someone else a really short run just before you're going to give Asuka a long run. That just seems a little bit... I agree with the logic of this. Keep it on Alexa, let her drop the belt to Asuka, then let Asuka take on all challenges from the other girls. I agreed with that. None of us got it right. The game picked Emma and Bayley, because if you remember, we had the 4-way and then the 1-on-1. You picked Nia, I picked Sasha, and Alexa won, so we predicted 4 out of the 5 and none of us were right.
Yeah, it seems kind of, even though you think it's the correct booking decision, if you are one of the women on WWE Raw, you gotta be like, come on, man, it's gonna... Like, if you're Nia Jax, and you just want your first championship already, it's got to feel terrible to think, well, Alexa's going to continue to hold the belt until Asuka arrives. Asuka's going to take it off of her, and she's never going to be defeated. Like, it's never going to happen. So it's kind of like, no matter how hard I work, there's no championship in sight for me.
Yeah, but I mean, they've all got long careers ahead of them as long as they don't do anything stupid and get fired or whatever. But so they've got time to get, to win the title. The thing I would be thinking as well, if you want to take a positive from it, from everyone else's point of view, is do you want your first reign in the case of Emma or Nia? Do you want that to be just to be fed to Asuka? Do you want to be a transitional champion just to keep Alexa looking strong? Like I know you get to go down in the record books as having held the title, but you can go down the record books in a couple of years for holding the title. Like once the Asuka thing's settled down, or she's moved to SmackDown, or you've moved to SmackDown, you can go ahead and win the women's title then. Do you want, do you want to be a transitional champion? That's one of the things. I don't know if I'd want to be the champion for 4 weeks just to protect Alexa.
Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying, man. I guess if I was a wrestler, I would feel so tempted to take that route, just to say I was champion. But you're right; it does sort of cheapen the whole experience to think that a paper champion it's not a good idea. You're right about it.
Yeah. Interesting thing as well. I wouldn't be surprised tonight on Raw to see some tension building between Sasha and Bayley, because they threw in quite a few deliberate spots where they were breaking up each other's pins, and they weren't just breaking up each other's pins, they were like kicking each other in the back and in the back of their head to break up the pin. They were fighting over that title like probably we weren't supposed to be expecting them to. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like that was supposed to be quite surprising how much they went at each other without really ever getting one-on-one time with each other, like too much. When Sasha was going for a pin, Bayley would kick her and vice versa, and I feel like the teasing tension between the two, I feel like that's the secondary women's story on Raw going forward, is going to be Bayley and Sasha.
Yeah, let's hope it all culminates into a big one-on-one match, even if it's not for the belt, but just a one-on-one match between Sasha and Bayley, perhaps at WrestleMania. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, just a women's match not for a title on a pay-per-view would be amazing, to be honest. Okay, on to the next match. The first main event, even though there was another match in between, it's a well-known trick that to calm the crowd down and give them a bit of a rest between main events, so that's fine. Roman Reigns defeats John Cena clean in the middle of the ring, having kicked out of 4 AAs, one of which was off the second rope, and beat him with probably the worst looking spear I've ever seen in my life. Like, I don't know, we both predicted Cena, the game predicted Reigns. I don't even know what to make of this. Not the fact that Reigns won, just the whole nature of the match. I don't even know what to make of that.
It was, I'll be honest with you, it was so disappointing because, okay, don't get me wrong, I mean, I'm in that crowd, and the crowd is chanting. Okay, normally the crowd goes, let's go Cena, Cena sucks. In this instance, the crowd is just chanting, you both suck, you both suck, you both suck. And then when Reigns speared Cena through the table, the crowd chants, you still suck. You still I like the part in the beginning of the match where John Cena is kind of like, oh, you guys are booing me? I could leave if you want. And
yeah, that was very uncharacteristic of Cena, and I was saying at the time, I think that was great playing to the crowd on both parts, because there's no way they could have planned that, because yeah, there's an expectation of how the crowd will be, but you can't guarantee that's how the crowd will be. I was half expecting the crowd to be entirely pro Cena because they're anti-Reigns, so like, it's 50-50 which way the crowd would go, I feel, and I feel like that was purely just based on, at the time, reacting to the crowd, and Reigns did his part well as well, because Cena didn't say anything to Reigns, didn't get a chance to say, I'm going to walk out and you come and chase me. Reigns just played it, well and stuff like that, and it was odd to see, like, was Cena really going to take the count-out loss just because the crowd were booing him? Because that's not John Cena. It was weird. It was good, but it was weird.
Yeah, I think everybody was kind of like, I think John Cena, because he had to make good on it. He's kind of like, hey, if you don't want me here, I'll leave. And the crowd, and everybody's like, yeah, man, leave. And so he starts to walk out, and everybody's cheering, yeah, good.
Yeah, it was kind of like a really intense standoff in a game of poker where both guys are bluffing. Like, realistically, the fans might have been chanting, you both suck, but everyone wanted to see Reigns versus Cena. It was one of the marquee matches. It was one of the matches everyone was, like, talking about on the build-up. It was one of the best built-up matches. And at the same time, Cena, in character, obviously doesn't want to take the count-out loss, you know, just by walking out. But both sides are kind of trying to stick to the guns. I thought it was quite interesting. It was like watching two poker players bluff each other and keep putting chips in. It was funny.
Yeah, I feel like John Cena, too, like, looking at how the match ended, I think in the beginning he was trying to allude to the fact that, you know, clearly he's going to be taking some time off, and it's kind of like, hey, you guys, maybe you don't realize it just yet, but, you know, you're going to miss me. And the thing I didn't like was when Reigns chased him down. Reigns punched him one time to get him going back toward the ring, and John Cena, he oversold the entire punch, like the way that, remember when Hogan versus Michaels, where Michaels was his selling in that match was very comical and very like one tiny hit, he's flipping around the ring 26 times. Yeah. He did that kind of thing where like Reigns punched him one time and he flew back, hit the ramp, slid all the way down the ramp, and then popped up to his feet and rolled himself into the ring and still rolled 3 more times. I was like, what the hell? It was one punch.
I feel like Cena was going ultimate meta Cena in this match because he was taking the mick out of Roman Reigns the same way as he did out of Baron Corbin and trying to show him that lack of respect the same way as he did with Baron Corbin. And I think part of that was to get the internet crowd thinking, oh yeah, this heat really is real, you know, get the smart fans to fall for it. And I think it probably worked for, you know, because I was starting to question it. I was like, there's no way Cena's going to bury Reigns, right? You know, kind of thing. I was like, there's no way. He might win, but there's no way he's going to bury him. But you started to doubt it, and then he starts overselling like crazy, and you're like, yeah, it was strange. But then the match eventually got serious. It was like the story of the match was Reigns earned Cena's respect, not just in the promos in the weeks up to the show, like Cena was saying. It was it was a case of earning his respect throughout the match. He came into the match not respecting Reigns, is the vibe I got. Like, that was the character vibe I got, and left the match respecting him. And by the way, why does John Cena have to shake the guy's hand every time he loses? And why didn't Roman Reigns turn it down? It would have been so good if Roman Reigns would have just walked away. That would have set up the rematch whenever they wanted to do it, instantly.
What I wanted, there was a point after they shook hands, which, by the way, I agree with you. It was the worst finish of all time. The whole match, I think, from a wrestling standpoint, could have been better, but it was like kind of sloppy and it was very like oversold. And then the finish, that was such a stupid spear. It was like, this is John Cena. Okay, look, I don't like Super Cena, but now that I'm used to Super Cena, there's no way that spear finished Super freaking Cena, except for it did. And then once John Cena raises Roman Reigns' hand, there was this moment where Roman Reigns walks away to go get out of the ring, and John Cena turned his back on Reigns and was kind of leaning against the ropes. And then Reigns paused for just a moment, and I thought to myself, okay, this is going to be worth it. Turn around, charge John Cena, hit him in the back, and then stomp him out. But he didn't. He just got out the ring and kept walking. I'm like, come on.
Yeah, they missed a few opportunities. The big opportunity I felt they missed was just simply the fact that one of the main criticisms of both Reigns and Cena is they don't always have the same matches. Now, I think that's unfair to both men, but especially Cena. He's had some great matches over the last few years. But these two needed to put on a great match, and they focused so much on telling that story that they forgot to have a good match. Like, you know, like, I feel like both men are capable of having a great match, and I feel like together they should have had a great match, but they didn't. They just forgot to put on the great match aspect of it. They just focused too much on the story. And the thing I hated the most about the finish, right, Cena did an AA, and as soon as he did the AA, the first AA, I went 2, and Roman Reigns kicked out. Okay, acceptable. I understood Roman Reigns was not going to go down to one single AA. Got that. No one goes down to a single AA anymore. Then Cena did the second rope AA, and I went 2. And my thinking was, AJ Styles kicked out of this. If they're going to let Mr. TNA kick out of this, they're going to let Roman Reigns kick out of it. And he did. And I was like, okay, I'm okay with that. Then Cena hits his double AA, where he rolls through and picks him back up. Actually hits it for probably the first time ever, because usually that's how the match ends. He hits one of his AAs, rolls through, and then they counter the second one and beat him. But he actually hits the double AA, and then Reigns still kicks out, and then less than 30 seconds later he's at a spear and won. It was like, you've just been hit with 2 AAs, which were the third and fourth one. Stay down, man. Like, stretch out that finish just a little bit longer. It was just like, oh, suddenly Roman Reigns is fine after taking his third and fourth finishes of the match back to back. It agitates me, stuff like that. Like, no selling, when done right, can be effective. See Braun Strowman later in the night. Can be really effective, no selling. Neville, no selling, was really effective. Roman Reigns, no selling that, just looked ridiculous. If you ask me, like, it didn't work. It wasn't the look how impressive and tough I am, no selling. It was the look I forgot that I just took 2 big spots in a row. Kind of no selling, it doesn't suit the story arc of the match, so we're just going to ignore the fact that 30 seconds ago I was taking 2 AAs, and I just didn't like it personally.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. And Stone Cold has gone on to, he said things about this in the past on his podcast where he's saying, like, it's okay to sell, boys. If somebody has just hit you with a big move, how about you stay down for a minute and actually sell that move, because you're doing a disservice to that finisher if you just immediately pop back up. And to credit what you were saying before about a match that had such a great story and didn't really have a great payoff, it was almost as bad, not quite, but almost as bad as the supposed payoff between Randy Orton and Triple H a few years ago, where they just had the best storyline, man. Like, leading into it, where Orton had attacked the whole McMahon family, and he attacked Stephanie, and he kissed Stephanie in the ring while Triple H was handcuffed. It was just so many things about that story that was awesome. And then they froze up because Taker and Shawn got out there first on that WrestleMania 25 card and had a fantastic match. And then Triple H and Orton went out there and just had it was just a terrible match. There was nothing good about it. And it was like, why all the build-up just so they can go lay an egg? And that's how I kind of felt last night. I was so happy to be like, I was telling my wife, I was like, dude, Reigns versus Cena, and we are here. I was hyped for it. And then the match happened, and I was like, I could have watched this from my couch.
Yeah, I could have. If I was on my couch, I could have turned this off. Like, more importantly, I wholeheartedly agree. That match was disappointing. I was expecting more from it, and there's going to be so many internet smarks now saying, see, told you they can't have a good match. And it's like, no, like, they had to prove people wrong in that match, and they could have. They genuinely are both capable of it. But hey ho. Right, so the next match, Enzo Amore versus Neville for the Cruiserweight Championship. Let me just read out my notes, because I want to make very brief notes just to remind myself what I want to talk about. I don't like write out a script, I just write a few words. Awful. Too long. Wrong result. Ugh. Spelt UGH, in case anyone's wondering. That was my note on this match. Right, the fact that Neville didn't beat Enzo in like 30 seconds was incorrect. By the way, we all predicted, me, you and the game predicted Enzo to win. We knew Enzo would win. That doesn't make it the right decision. That doesn't make it right. It was Neville should have absolutely trounced Enzo, sent him right back to the drawing board. That was the only way this match could be good, is if it was 30 seconds long. But not Rusev Orton 30 seconds where he gets caught out of nowhere. No, Neville just grabs him, beats him down, bang, 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 puts in the rings of Saturn and makes him tap out. A dominant 30-second win, not a fluky 30-second win. Like, maybe 2 minutes. It had to be short. Neville had to win this for it to be the right result. He had to win it quickly, and it was never going to be a good match when it started going longer. The fans seemed to be chanting, this is boring, and all sorts of stuff at the match, because it was. Even Neville can't drag a good match out of Enzo.
It was terrible, man. And here's the thing about Enzo Amore.
No, you're wrong. You can't say it's terrible. I wrote here, it was awful. Get it right.
Yeah, exactly. It was awful. And any other words that are even worse than that to describe a match. The thing about it is that Enzo comes out he still comes out to a big pop. I get it. I popped big for Enzo last night, and I don't even like him. And he he does this whole stick. My name is Enzo Amore, blah blah blah, and the whole crowd still chants with him. You know why? Not because we like Enzo Amore, because we remember how cool that stuff was when it was him and Big Cass together. So it's like we still do it because we still like that part. The moment the bell rings, everybody's like, "What the? Oh no, 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 no!" And so like, he's not even. I don't even know that he hit even one wrestling move, and the crowd was everybody was like, "This is crazy!" Like normally that spot on the card is reserved for the women's match, anyways, which I think might have been a better match. But I'm sure they're like, this match is going to be good, and like you said, they want to cool the crowd down before the main event. But it's like, did you want to cool us down, or did you want to kill us?
Or did you want to send us home early? Like, yeah. I mean, the one thing I did notice, and I tweeted out about it, was I didn't feel watching on TV, and maybe the perspective was different in the arena, when Enzo Amore shouted, "How you doing?" No one answered. No one, "How you doing?" back, it didn't sound like. And I heard the crowd pop. I heard them chanting along with his shtick after that. But before that I should say. But when he did the "How you doing?" I didn't hear anyone shout it back immediately. And then a few people managed to seem to start a little bit of a "How you doing?" chant. But the immediate reaction that's normally quite loud, and normally, the whole crowd shouts back, "How you doing?" Nothing, it felt like.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that was you could hear the death knell in the background then for Enzo, and then he still won, so whatever.
Yeah, there was 3 guys behind me who tried to like start the "How you doing" chant, but the rest of the crowd was having none of it. And by the way, okay, there's 2 people in wrestling I just don't understand, and that would be Enzo Amore and Lana. I don't understand the idea that you wrestle every day. Every day you guys are wrestling, and you never get any better at wrestling. Like, how is it possible?
I don't know, but the funny thing is, in both cases, it's probably not a gimmick. They just aren't improving, so they've had to make art imitate life in a way, and like there's no excuse for it, because Enzo is in 205 Live and he's not as good a wrestler, but you don't have to be a flip-floppy, high-flying guy to be a great cruiserweight. Look at, is it Drew Gulak, who does the whole gimmick of banning aerial moves and stuff like that and gets heat that way? I think it is. I think it might be him. Look at Zack Sabre Jr., who's cruiserweight. He doesn't flip around and stuff. He wrestles a very slow, methodical, tie-you-up in a knot pretzel style. Jack Gallagher doesn't wrestle a high-flying, high-octane style. You don't have to be a good cruiserweight. You don't have to be able to do flips. Enzo just can't do anything. Like, and that's the problem. Is the problem isn't whether we're arguing whether it's a good or bad match, or whether Enzo is good or bad. We're arguing about whether he's terrible or awful. We're arguing about which negative word is most appropriate, and that's the problem. Is he's the face. In this situation, therein lies the problem. I genuinely feel like he's sort of like another meta heel, like a Roman Reigns or a Jason Jordan, where they're sort of expecting a certain percentage of the crowd to hate him, and they're playing to that a bit, because they've got to be. That's the only way they can use him now.
Yeah, they got to use the only thing he has is a mouthpiece on him, and he's the exact opposite of Jason Jordan, where it's like, Jordan is probably one of the better. He's probably one of the best wrestlers on that roster, but he can't talk, so he gets no love. Meanwhile, Enzo Amore has no wrestling ability, but he's a good talker. So they're like, we're gonna put the belt on this guy. And also, I'm sorry, just a quick note, man. I meant to say this, but dude, you were right and I was wrong, and I got to see last night what you were talking about. Turns out Emma can wrestle. Just wanted to add that in there.
Yeah, I was impressed with that women's match, just to go back a little bit. In general, I'm kind of getting sick of seeing the multi-woman matches, because I just want two girls to be given the ball to go out and have a great match on a pay-per-view. It seems to happen far too often where it's multi-woman matches at the moment, which is frustrating. I know they just had one at SummerSlam, but they don't seem to be able to do it consistently. They don't seem to be able to have a one-on-one program between 2 women. you know, that spans over several pay-per-views and they get to go back and forth. You know, like your Randy Orton Jinder you know, which isn't the best example because it wasn't necessarily the best program, but still they got to go back and forth and have 3 one-on-one matches, one with a stipulation. That's how feuds used to be. Not, oh well, they've had a match now let's chuck 3 other people into the next one. You know, like, you need a bit of back and forth, and that's the only thing frustrating about the women, because I feel like all the women, even Nia, who I say isn't as good as everyone claims, she's good at what she does though. She's good at no-selling a bit of offense. She's good at, you know, throwing herself at the other women and making it look like it hurts. Even she's good at what she does. She's probably the worst out of the 5, I would say, in that match at wrestling, but she's very good at what she does. So I enjoyed the match. That was probably my favourite match up to this point, because everything else... Miz and Jason Jordan was good as well, and Finn Bray wasn't bad. Do you know what? There wasn't a bad match on the card until Enzo Neville. Cena Reigns was average, you know, and needed to be better, but it wasn't a bad match. It was a bad finish on an average match. You know, none of the matches were really that terrible except Enzo Neville, I thought. But I don't know if I covered it, but all 3 of us predicted Enzo to win. Oh, by the way, after Reigns Cena, I think I tweeted you saying, well, there's no way either of us can beat the game now, because the 2 last matches, we all agreed, all 3 of us agreed. We all picked Enzo and we all picked Brock. So it was like, we can't win now, the game wins again. So, fun times. Anyway, main event, Universal title, the big one. Brock defeats Braun to retain the title. Probably doesn't show up again in 2017, so we don't have a world title on Raw. Braun did look strong. He dominated Brock, and the commentators really played it up, which obviously you wouldn't have got the benefit of because you don't get commentary when you're there live. But the commentators were, you know, really playing it up that, oh, no one's thrown Lesnar around like this. You know, yeah, Goldberg caught him by surprise, but Lesnar's just beating him, basically. Again, the ending was awful. I'm sick of seeing guys who definitely deserve to kick out of something getting taken down with one F5. And that F5, by the way, yeah, it was impressive because Braun's a big fella, but it didn't look that impactful. He didn't look like he hit the floor hard, you know, and it looked like a bit of a... It was the same as the spear. It wasn't a good spear. If it had been a better spear, I might have been able to handle the finish better. Same with this. If it had been a better F5, if it had looked like it hurt more, I might have been able to live with it.
Yeah, I thought, okay, I'm there, brother, as we've said a million times already. I'm live in the crowd. When they were, you know how they show the video package just to catch everybody up who may not have seen it all, like how the rivalry came about and what's happened so far.
Yeah,
dude, the crowd was so lit for Braun Strowman, and even Lesnar, in spite of the fact it was clear that nobody wanted him to win, he still got a big pop because if nothing else, he's still Lesnar. He's still the Beast. But like, dude, everybody felt like there was this feeling in the air of like, this is Braun's moment, and we're all here to witness it. And then that match started, and he's ragdolling Brock Lesnar, and it's all going great. And then, all of a sudden, the match ends the exact way that the game predicted, with one F5.
Yeah, and the thing is, that... You say it popped the crowd, that pre-match promo, that video package. That's what turned me off a little bit on this match, because they did such a good job of showing you that Braun Strowman can beat Brock Lesnar, that it became, from that moment, guaranteed that Brock was winning, in my opinion. Like, I don't know if, like you say, the feeling in the crowd might have been this could be Braun's moment, but it's wrestling booking 101. The guy who wins the build-up loses the match. You know, it's just how it goes. It's just how it goes. You know, look at the results. Right, look at the results. Jason Jordan laid out the Miztourage and then lost. Bray Wyatt was getting the upper hand and sending out messages to Finn Balor. It was a bit more of an even feud, but then lost. I can't remember the build-up to Sheamus and Cesaro and... Oh, Sheamus and Cesaro just won a triple threat tag match on Raw, didn't they? Against Ambrose and Rollins and Anderson and Gallows. So again, then they lost. You know, it's like one of these situations where Alexa was buried on Raw in effect. She lost quickly to Nia Jax and then got booted out the ring by Sasha and Bayley, didn't she? And then won. Cena's been mauling Reigns on the mic week in, week out. Lost. Enzo got battered by Strowman and Neville thoroughly enjoyed it on Raw, and then Neville lost. It's wrestling booking 101. Whoever's winning the feud loses the match, it seems to be, like 9 times out of 10. And that pre-match video package, I was sat there thinking, yeah, Braun's got no chance. I think I might have even tweeted out saying, I've just realised Braun has no chance in this match. And I was right, and I was so sad to be right. The last 2 matches were I only predicted 3 matches right all night. And, in fact, funnily enough, the 3 matches I predicted right, you and the game both got right as well. The 3 matches that we were all unanimous on, we were right on. I got nothing else right. When I disagreed with anyone, I was wrong. But it was like, other than the Finn Bray Wyatt match, I've never wanted so much to be wrong in my life as the Enzo match and the Brock Lesnar match. Like, I just haven't. I wanted Neville to win. I wanted Braun to win.
Another thing about that Brock Lesnar and Braun match is the crowd was very surprised at how, like, the match ended seemingly out of nowhere. It was like, wait, that's it? I mean, okay, F5, I get it, but here's my whole deal. If you know you're gonna book the match to end on the F5, then when Brock Lesnar gets Braun up on his shoulders, you got to give Braun a couple more times to struggle out of the move and let the match continue, because like it just ended so abruptly, and everybody was kind of like, wait, this is a guy, because Braun Strowman puts on these great matches with Roman Reigns that they go the distance. It's not like Braun can't go; he can go. So it's like the sorry ass booking where it's like, come on, Brock, are you too good to take a few more bumps? Or does your contract stipulate you can't wrestle for more than 6 minutes at a time? Like, what's happening here?
Yeah, it's. I had the exact same feeling coming out of this match as I did out of Brock Joe, which was just not surprised, because I predicted Brock to win. I said, didn't I? You side with the guy where you'd be surprised if you lost, and I'd have been surprised. I'd have been pleasantly surprised if Brock lost. So I picked Brock. Looking back at it, and even without hindsight, just before the match, I knew Brock was winning. It was like so clear as day the way they booked the feud. But I was so disappointed, not only to be right, but in the manner in which it went down. I was, it sucked all the air out of me, if I'm honest. I don't know if, because we were planning on speaking straight after the event as you kind of came out of it, and then me doing the review on my own at first, and your phone died, and I think that was a good thing, because I think I was a bit deflated at that point, because it was the same feeling as the Joe match. Like I say, it was that, oh yeah, they kind of made Joe look strong, but then he essentially just got, as soon as Brock got one move in, he just squashed him. And it was the same with the Strowman match. Strowman squashed Lesnar for half a match, and then Lesnar squashed Strowman for 30 seconds and won. And, there was no back and forth, there was no... Do you know what I mean? There was just there's no fun and drama in it for me.
Yeah, there was no drama, and to make matters worse, not only did one F5 beat the supposed monkster among men, making him look extremely weak, but then he rolled out of the ring and he set up against the announce table. That announce table that he did not drive Lesnar through. I mean, why do we even have tables if you're not going to use them? But he set up against that table, huffing and puffing, and waited for Brock to walk all the way up the ramp and then back to backstage. I mean, he's acting like he got hit with 12 F5s. It was one F5, mate. Get on your feet.
Yeah. Look, take a lesson from Reigns. Reigns took 2 AAs and just no-sold it, essentially. Like, just... Do you know what I mean? Just get up. Just get up. No one cares anymore, clearly, so just get up. You don't have to protect Lesnar. It's Lesnar, just protect yourself. Stand up. I would have loved... Do you know what would have marked me out the absolute hardest in that match is if Strowman would have no-sold an F5. And it would have been the funniest thing ever. I think it would have been great if Lesnar would have hit an F5 and sat there for a second, like, looking, wow, this has been hard. Just goes for the pin. And Strowman just stands up and just looks at him like, what? Then you can beat him with another F5, that's fine, but that would have just made Strowman. Like, if he'd have just... Imagine, do you remember Ultimate Warrior no-selling the pedigree? Imagine that, but with the F5 would have been amazing.
I remember that.
It would have been doubly amazing, not just because it was an amazing moment first time on, but because Triple H wasn't made back then. Triple H wasn't a main event guy, so it wasn't as big a deal to no-sell the pedigree as it would be now to no-sell the F5. Like, it would have just been incredible if it had done that. I would have I would have popped so hard for that. I would have woken up my house if that had happened. Like no denying it.
The look on Paul Heyman's face after the match, as he was, standing with Brock Lesnar, the look on his face said, I know this was a stupid match. I know, you guys are right. I get it. I get it. And it's kind of like, Brock, all right, come on, Brock, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. Because it's like, Paul Heyman is a pure wrestling genius, and he works as hard as the wrestlers as far as like getting the match over before it happens and selling the match. And so I think for him, I think it makes him sad that he sells people on these matches knowing that it's going to be shit when it happens. You know what I mean?
I imagine when they had because apparently Vince hadn't like fully settled on the result. I imagine when he got the guys together in a room backstage and said, right, here's what we're going to do. Strowman's going to dominate for the start, and then Lesnar's going to finally work his way back in, hit his suplexes, hit an F5, pin him. I imagine all three men got deflated by that. Like, I feel the same thing with Brock Joe as I do with Brock Braun, which is that I think Brock was enjoying putting them over a little bit, because he's like Cena. He can pick and choose who he likes and who he wants to put over. But I feel like he likes both of those guys and was enjoying getting mauled a bit by Braun and, putting him over big in the build-up. And I feel like that would have even bothered Brock a little bit. Because as much as people say, oh, he's just there for the paycheck, have you seen the picture from backstage after he beat Undertaker at WrestleMania? He knew what that meant. It wasn't just a paycheck. He was a bit shaken by it. And I feel like Brock's a bit more of a mark than people give him credit for, for the business. And I feel like he would have been just as disappointed as Braun. And I think Paul Heyman would have been disappointed. I think they would all have been there like, really? One F5? Really? Not really that much of a fight, just a bit of dominating at the start. I feel like they would all have been disappointed in that meeting. Personally.
Yeah, it could have been better. I mean, it was worse than the feeling I got from the John Cena Roman Reigns match. This main event, again, it was like I was telling my wife, dude, we get to be here live for Braun versus Brock. This match is going to be crazy. And then it was not crazy at all. Even when Braun was hitting his finisher, like, for the second or third time, and I'm like, come on, man. I know you have more moves than just this running power slam in your arsenal. Like,
it's not even just that. It's not even the repetition of the move. It's the fact that he had the strength to pick Lesnar up and slam him down and then fell over onto his back. And you're like, oh, look, he's tired. I get it. I get the story. We don't want Lesnar kicking out of too many of his finishes. I get it. So don't let him hit them. But that's not necessarily the point. The point is, he then picked him back up and slammed him again and then lay back down and was too tired to go for the pin again. It's like, are you a monster or are you feeble? You've just proven you can throw Brock Lesnar around, but you can't pick yourself up and lie across him. It's like, come on, man. Come on, you're supposed to be a monster among men, and you can't even muster up a pinfall attempt after hitting your finisher twice. Like, come on, man. Come on. Sort it out. It just, there was a lot of things about that match that bothered me. I feel like the last three matches, from the very end of Reigns Cena, the ending of Reigns Cena till the end of the show, soured the whole show for me a little bit. I'm sort of not looking back on it fondly, whereas the start of the show was really good. I enjoyed the majority of the show.
Yeah, I agree, man. And the worst part about it is, like, people were there for Cena, Reigns, and Braun Brock. The rest of it was a bonus, and Enzo and Neville was an atrocity, and it was purely offensive. That they would even put that on there, but the rest of it was like, the beginning until Cena versus Reigns, it was all gravy, and then you get that match, and you're like, this is it. This is what we really came to see, and it was like, that was kind of disappointing. But hey, we still got Braun versus Brock, so we're good. We're in the game. And then Braun versus Brock comes on, and it's like, come on, man. This. Dang it, they got us again. They fooled us again. Meanwhile, they advertised, oh yeah, Los Angeles, Monday Night Raw will be back December 4th. Go get your tickets. And it's like,
everyone's like, nope.
How are you going to sell us on tickets for Raw? Come on.
Yeah, you get to not see the Universal Champion because Braun didn't win. What was I going to say then? Do you know what? It didn't have the outside interference and, you know, the shenanigans for the end of each match. But do you know what this show felt a little bit like? A WCW pay-per-view. Remember how WCW was always great up until the main event? And then the main event was usually, you know, Hogan versus Warrior, the rematch that was worse than the original match. Or it was, you know, Hogan versus Piper or something like that. And the main event scene was always criticised in WCW, but the undercard was great. This was that.
Yeah, I agree, man.
But this wasn't Hollywood Hulk Hogan in his 40s or 50s and never was any good at wrestling, or Ultimate Warrior, ditto, or, you know, Roddy Piper, who'd slowed down and wasn't as good as he used to be. This is Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman carrying this show, and they should be able to put on good matches. They can put on good matches, and they just didn't.
No, they didn't, and sad to say, the real problem here is me and fans like me, because in spite of the fact that we didn't get our money's worth, when WWE comes back into town, my butt will be parked in that seat, regardless.
Yeah, I've said this to people before. I'm like, stop complaining on the internet, just stop watching. If everyone who was complaining on the internet cancelled the network subscription, did notice, that's a lot of people. But people don't. They don't appeal to hardcore fans because the hardcore fans don't go anywhere. That's why they build to appeal to the casual. That's it. It's good business strategy, you know? Just how it is. Just how it is. But, I mean, overall, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of the 8 matches I enjoyed. So, can't put that down as a complete failure. It's just a shame that the marquee matches that everyone was buying tickets for and network subscriptions for were the bad ones. But I hope you had a good time at the show overall, except for, you know, the anticlimactic finishes towards the end of the show. I hope you had a good time. I had a reasonably good time watching it. I'm not going to lie, kind of looking forward to the next couple of pay-per-views, because gimmick pay-per-views, much as I'd prefer to see just a Hell in a Cell match when it's necessary, like, I do enjoy a good Hell in a Cell match, and I do enjoy tables matches, ladder matches, TLC matches. The next couple of pay-per-views are just going to be car crashes, and it's going to be fun. You know, like, it's going to be fun. It's hard to make those shows not fun, because they're just, like you say, it's car crash TV, isn't it? So, I'm looking forward to that. I can't wait for the next couple of shows, and hopefully we do our simulation prediction review routine again for that one.
We definitely will, man. I'm totally in for it, brother.
Awesome, awesome. Well, leave a like if you enjoyed this video, this Raw review. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let us know what you thought of the show. Like, good, bad, ugly, let us know. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new here. Don't forget to head over to Emir's channel and subscribe over there as well. And don't forget to share this video with your friends if you think they would enjoy. But for now, all I have left to say is thank you very much for watching. As always, I've been Ebeza. You've been amazing. He's been Emir.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. We appreciate you.
And we will see you next time. Woo!